how many people just take 412, throw it out the window. We don't really have any control at that point. To have a stoic attitude. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cabin Checks. My name is Brandon Burns, and right here I have my handy dandy Bible. Now, before you click away from this video, this is not at all a Bible thumper type of video. As a matter of fact, I actually pride myself on always cross-referencing different spiritual texts. So yes, I've read the Bible cover to cover, but I've also read the Bhagavad Gita from cover to cover. I'm working my way through the Quran right now. And my philosophy is, if I can look through different spiritual texts, regardless of if you believe in the scientific, factual basis of the stories, if we can just extract the principles from those stories and then cross-reference them with other spiritual texts, if the same principle is located in 2, 3, 4 different spiritual texts, it's probably just fundamentally true, right? And so that's how I've always approached things. And there's a concept in this book in particular that I think often goes overlooked, right? And this is in Philippians chapter 4, and everybody knows Philippians 4:13, right? At least most people in the West have heard Philippians 4:13. It's one of the most quoted passages in the Bible. In fact, it's probably one of the most quoted quotes, period, from any text, religious or not, in the world. And Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Other translations would list that as, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's Philippians 4:13. Now, what this video is about is what comes just before that and actually gives context to 4:13, because that is something that I think is not talked about nearly enough. And this is Philippians 4:12. Listen to this. Philippians 4:12 says, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? The problem with taking 4:13 in a siloed context, on its own, without the context that is given to us by 4:12, is that it's very easy to assume that I can do all things really means all positive things. I can do all things that benefit me. I can do all things that I enjoy. I can do all good things through him who strengthens me, right? What 4:12 is saying is actually no, all things means all things both positive and negative. All things means in both pain and in joy, I can be the same. In both happiness and in sorrow, I can be the same. I can do all of this through him who strengthens me. And it blows my mind how many people just take 4:12, throw it out the window, and they just focus on 13, because that's the happy, positive part of that scripture. When in reality, it really only gains depth and meaning from what comes immediately before it and gives it context, right? It does not mean that we can accomplish all this incredible stuff through Christ who strengthens me. That is what it means, but it's not only what it means. It also means that I can accomplish incredible things, but I can also be okay in lack. I can be okay in poverty. I can be okay in pain and sacrifice. I can be okay. Why? Because he strengthens me, right? I got a scripture from the Gita over here. This is verse, I believe, 57. It says, whoever is free of all mental attachments, who is not excited when good things happen, nor dejected when evil comes, is poised in wisdom. And again, it's all saying the same things. It's just in a slightly different wording. So what's my interpretation on this, right? To me, what both of these are saying is we can't have high highs and low lows. We need to be steady under all circumstances. When things are going well, be steady. When things are not going well, be steady. Because if there's one thing that we know is constant in life, it is change itself. And I remember my dad, when I was a kid, he would always say, this too shall pass. Because you got to remember, I was a super anxious kid. Like, everything freaked me out. I was a hypochondriac. So, super anxious kid. My dad would always say, hey, this too shall pass. Something really, really bad's happening. You're freaking out. You're nervous. You're anxious. This too shall pass. You're over the moon. You're elated because you had a big victory. This too shall pass, right? Time and change are constant. If we allow ourselves to get too high in the good times, too low in the bad times, we get tossed around like a boat in the ocean, right? It's just we're being thrown and tossed around with the waves. We don't really have any control at that point. We have to learn to keep ourselves steady, to keep our emotions steady, to have a stoic attitude when it comes to life. I remember another thing that I saw from the Gita, very, very similar to that passage 57 that we just read. It was re-emphasizing the idea of being steady under any and all circumstances. And I for whatever reason, I was thinking about when I take cold showers, right? That's a practice that I do at least a few times a week. And when I go take a cold shower, oftentimes, and I take like cold showers, I don't put it kind of on cold, I put it all the way on cold, right? And a lot of times I would get in there and I would hype myself up. I would take some really deep breaths and I would kind of jump into the water and beat on my chest and right? And it if you're getting a visualization of that, I apologize. It is a little bit ridiculous. But that was what I would do, And that energy would help me get through it. And I thought about passages like this and I said, man, am I really being steady? Am I really being constant? Am I really being the same in any circumstance? Because the principle is not to be able to deal with any circumstance. The principle is to be the same in any circumstance. It doesn't say that I can do all this, but I'm pissed off about it through Christ who strengthens me. It says I can do it and I don't change who I am, my character, my demeanor, the way that I'm looking at this. It doesn't change. I am happy and grateful in the cold shower the same way that I am in the hot shower. I am happy and I am grateful. I am fulfilled. I am present the same way in lack as I am in abundance, right? And so I thought about this and said, man, I'm dealing with the cold shower, but I'm not being the same. And so I immediately had to switch that practice and say, I'm just going to walk into the cold water and have zero reaction. No crazy energy, no hype, no just movement, none of that. I'm just going to go in and be steady and be present and just feel, right? And I'm telling you, if you can get that level of control over your mind, it will absolutely change your life. So, with that being said, a little bit of a, shorter, condensed, but also spiritual version of Cabin Checks today. I hope that you found this valuable. Remember, be steady, be stoic, be the same in every situation. Don't let the good times get you super excited and you're super happy and you're super sociable with everybody and you're just in a great mood. And then as soon as we fall on some challenges or some adversity or opposition, you change who you are. Don't allow your character to be molded by the situation. You got to be you no matter what, right? Like, come on, man. Christ didn't start acting up when he got on the cross. Anyway, I digress. If you found this valuable, please be sure to share this with somebody else. It helps the channel grow. And, of course, comment, subscribe, like, share, thumbs up, all the YouTube-y things. I don't know what all there is to do, but I appreciate you tuning in and listening to this episode of Cabin Checks, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.